you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, and I am Wadzanai Manyore. Today we are here at Madokero Estates, located in Tenwald, Harare, right here in Zimbabwe, where we are going to have a field day, a National Horticultural Field Day, organized by the courtesy of AfroStain, which is headed by Wencelas Nyamfukudza. Now, in this particular point in time, we are going to be headed over to our guest of honor, Mr. Paul Zakaria, who's going to give us a brief background of our horticulture and even just a background of field days in Zimbabwe.
We are here today to celebrate brains combined with hard work. The development of the horticultural subsector is at the heart of the government of Zimbabwe, as enunciated in the recently unveiled Horticulture Recovery and Growth Plan. The plan focuses on two broad and mutually reinforcing areas that are a private sector-driven recovery of the conventional horticulture subsector and a robust, inclusive and sustainable and transformative rural agriculture subsector. This comes in handy to support and positively impact over 300,000 farmers that rely on horticulture for their incomes and livelihoods in the major horticultural communities in this country. Farmers, we need to know that farming, if it is not taken as a business, it will be hard labor which does not pay. It can never be a hobby, and you can never be a farmer because you are passionate. You are a farmer because this is the livelihood. Without it, you have no existence. Therefore, the point I would want to underscore there is farmers are private sector. Let it sink. Farmers are private sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, the economy of Zimbabwe is agro-based, and tobacco is currently the major foreign currency earner in agriculture. Unfortunately, global trends and demands are showing that demand for tobacco is beginning to decline due to sustained anti-smoking campaigns which are being championed by the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. With this threat, in the not too distant future, tobacco may not maintain its position as the #1 foreign currency earner. This therefore calls for immediate and intentional efforts for Zimbabwe to diversify into other cash crops and products in order to attain and maintain economic stability and sustainability. Furthermore, it is very pertinent that as we transform and diversify our agriculture sector, we put in place measures to ensure viability and profitability. What it means here is that we will need to be more efficient with the issues to do with climate change and so on. We need to be more efficient in utilization of our inputs, efficient in the utilization of water, efficient even in all the methods to manage our crops. One of the potentially viable subsectors which government, through the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Water and Rural Resettlement, is seriously committed to promote and develop is horticulture in order to meet local and export demands. I need not overemphasize that some high-value horticultural crops have the potential to drive our export initiatives and build a strong base for economic recovery. Gore rino ratirakidza zvakawanda. I had never seen such volumes of cabbages my whole life. We in all their varieties. Because somebody said, cabbage rakubhadhara, what did everybody do? We went all to produce cabbages. And now you can buy 10 bond, you can buy a whole big head. It's all because we did not employ that intelligence that we needed to have. If we don't get it right here, we won't get it right anywhere. So we need to see things way, way ahead of time. Onions may be in short supply now going into the next few months. Who has the onions to supply during the off-season period? Why are we importing things that we can produce? By merely readjusting things, we can actually supply everything that we need in this country. Horticulture has the potential to rank as one of the top foreign currency earners for the country. Besides its potential to rake in the much-needed foreign currency, the recovery of integrated horticulture value chains can result in downstream benefits like job creation, reliable income generation, as well as wealth creation. To our input suppliers, there is something that I just don't understand at the moment. Why agricultural inputs costs are continuing to rise, even in US dollars. This is one thing I have failed to reconcile. This level of profiteering is not helping the country. It's counterproductive. Aren't we better off selling more items at much lower prices than a few items at high prices? Are we not making more sense if we reduce our prices so that we push the volumes? It is my hope that those gathered here today will acknowledge that young people are not only the future, but they are the engine and the spirit behind all things that take us into the future. So if we are leaving any young people behind, we are being short-sighted. Now, what we are witnessing here is inspiring and is indeed a sign that young people can do even better and are purely determined to write a new narrative which speaks to sustainable progress and wealth creation. So I'm delighted that the youth-led agribusiness extension company, Afrostain Farmtech, is coming up with inspirational pieces of work to alleviate poverty, hunger, and not forgetting the contribution to real wealth for our sector. It is therefore against that background that they are the ones that have done what makes us gather here today.
There you heard it, viewers. That was Mr. Paul Zakaria, the director of Zimbabwe Farmers Union right here in Zimbabwe. So stay tuned, viewers. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment of your program. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers. We are in the second segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with me, the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. You can make a follow-up on this episode and leave your suggestions and comments on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also available on Twitter. Our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Now, earlier on, before we went to the break, where we are joined by Mr. Zakaria, the guest of honor here on our National Horticultural Day. Now, in this segment, I have taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Francis Mapindani. He is the Sitco Vegetable Agronomist Smash East. Mr. Francis Mapindani, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Waza, for having me.
Yes. Now, as we get into our discussion, I understand that this is a field day, mainly focusing on horticultural activities, horticultural products. Now, let us take a look at the horticultural industry. I understand that you are the vegetable agronomist from Sitco. Your contributions towards our economy as a country, we are agro-based. And the horticulture industry plays a critical role, a pivotal role in the agricultural industry. Your contributions, how you are enhancing the horticulture industry, given that we are looking to make way of becoming an upper middle class economy by year 2030. Let us talk about your contributions as a company.
Thank you so much, Waza, for that. The first thing I think which we are supposed to look at is the importance of genetics when it comes to the seed that the farmer is supposed to get at the end of the day. If you want to get high yielding crops, the first thing that you look at obviously is the genetics. Yeah. You want the genetics, you want the right genetics, something that actually enhances the performance of the crop that you're planning to do. We want to give farmers that genetic impact of the seed right in their fingertips, which is something that most of the people in the 70s didn't used to get. You didn't have all these maize varieties that perform up to 21 tons like our 7 series, but we now have them, which is the importance of genetics. So right now, focusing mostly on the vegetables, one of the major things that we are looking at is try to improve as much as possible the genetic availability of on the market of genetically superior seeds on the market, which is something that we want to bring on the table. Seedco has so many varieties that are genetically superior on the market through much of our research and development projects that we are doing. So I think that's one of the most important things that we have to look at if we are going to look at something that will impact our future and impact our economic development.
Okay, Mr. Francis, I want us to talk about issues surrounding the youth. Yes. I understand that universities, colleges of agriculture are producing hundreds of thousands of students. Even if you look at the agricultural faculties, a lot of students are being produced, but they might not all of them be able to be absorbed by the system. Now we are talking of employment. How can a youth, given that our country, we have over 67% being constituted by the youth. Now, as an agronomist, how can the youth take advantage of the opportunities present in the horticultural industry?
Perfect. So I think one of the first things that we have to look at, obviously, is the perception. Yes. The perception of agriculture. It's something that we have to really look into. Most of the young people that we have, although the perception is kind of changing, yes, but we've had a very serious problem of people looking at farming as something which is inferior.
Or dirt.
Dirty, exactly, which is a problem, So we want to fix that. So through most of our awareness campaigns and also through our very, very wide extension services, most of the extension services that Seedco offers, we're trying to bring as much awareness as possible that actually agriculture is something that you can actually base your future on. I think almost everyone in Zimbabwe has a rural home.
Yes,
we know that
is very true.
One of the most obvious excuses that I've heard, obviously, is that I don't have land. What can I do? But then we have rural homes. Those are some of the lands. We have a land that we're entitled to at home. Let's say I'm from Masvingo. I have land that I'm entitled to in Zaka. So definitely, that's something that I have to look into if I'm actually willing to actually push my career further, especially now looking at that jobs are hard to get.
Now, as we round off this segment, I want you to touch briefly on the vegetable calendar.
Looking on the vegetable calendar, we can actually look at some crops like cauliflower, broccoli that most people don't have. Most people perceive that those are winter crops, but us at Seedco, we have the genetics that can allow you to grow those things during the summer period, during the unorthodox times that when most people think of these crops, they don't think that they grow during that time. We have broccoli varieties like Corato, which you can actually grow right now. We have cauliflower like Twister and Space Star. We also have other crops as well like butternuts. Butternuts perform really well, especially if supplemented with rainfall as well. Those are some of the things that you can look at. And also cabbages, we have varieties that perform very, very well during that time. Looking at the export market, we also have to look at some other things like the chilies as well. Okay. We have varieties of bird's eye chili that we sell. We have varieties of Serrano type of chilies that we sell that are very, very good performers on the export market. So those are some of the things that you can look straight into. But I think one of the things that I can emphasize right now, obviously, is to try as much as possible. Looking at the state of our country, we need as much foreign currency as possible. We need to look into the foreign, into the export market as much as possible. We can't ignore that. So definitely, for me right now, it will be the fine beans. It should be the bird's eye chili, should be the Serrano type chilies as well.
At this point in time, I have taken the liberty of inviting Kudakwashe Mugwagwa, Sinjende Zimbabwe vegetable lead. Now with Kudakwashe, we are former schoolmates who went together at Africa University in Mutare, where he was also doing agribusiness. He also went on to pursue his master's in agribusiness, which I also did. Kudakwashe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ozanai, how are you? I'm so excited that I'm here today, and as young people that we are on this path in agriculture, where we are trying by all means to ensure that our country goes beyond in regards to agriculture.
Now let us talk about the essence of field days in agriculture. I understand that this is where farmers converge, and the various stakeholders in the agriculture industry, they do converge and even sometimes go on to sponsor these events. What is the resemblance of field days in agriculture, especially in an economy like Zimbabwe, given that we are agro-based?
Yes, that's a very good one, Wadzanai. I think as Sinjenda, we have a mantra which says that we bring plant potential to life. What that requires is that we then have these few days where we've got a platform that we talk with farmers, we talk about advice on how they can really improve their yields. And also, as Syngenta, we are number one in research. What that implies is that we've got a platform where we share with our farmers the new traits in regards to the varieties, the new chemistry that we have that they can be able to use in their fields and be able to support the agricultural sector here in Zimbabwe.
Okay, now I understand that this event has been deemed the National Horticultural Day by AfroStain, and I understand that the horticultural industry, if taken care of properly, it does speak to issues in our economy of import substitution, whereby we refrain from importing tomatoes or green paper or vegetables. It also speaks to issues such as export growth. Now, as Syngenta, how are you contributing towards our horticultural industry as we map way towards achieving Vision 2030 of becoming an upper middle class economy by year 2030? What is your contribution? What are your sentiments, your word of advice to the farming community?
I think as Syngenta Vegetables Zimbabwe, we have got global researchers who are especially in the sector of the breeding sector, whereby we've got new traits of peas, we've got fine bean, we've got the whole range of the horticultural sector. So that is the issue that we always do, is that we always invite them to come here in Zimbabwe and also have a platform with our farmers to teach them about the new traits that we've got in the horticultural sector, but especially the issue of exports, because we are number one in peas. We are also number one in sweet corn, which we highly export here in Zimbabwe, which then means that when we are here in Zimbabwe, we are there to give the technical advice to our farmers and be able to interact with them at this global level, but it will be localized in the sense that we are present, we are there, we are working with them to ensure that we attain the Vision 2030.
Thank you so much, Kuda. It was a pleasure having you with me today.
Thank you very much, Ozanai.
Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions. We are in the third and final segment of your program, where I've taken the liberty of inviting Wencelas Nyamfukudza. He is the head of AfroStain Farm Tech, where he has taken the liberty of having a field day here at Madokero Estates, located in Tenwald, here in Harare. Wencelas, we are in the third and final segment of our program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for coming to this field day.
Yes. Now, as we get into our discussion, I understand that this is National Horticultural Field Day. Yeah. What inspired this event?
Okay, when you look at the horticultural business, it's one of the most lucrative ventures one can enter into if you'd want to make big in agriculture. So it's also one of the most neglected. Not only that, but those individuals who are yet to understand how to make profits in business, they venture into this business. So we chose this day not only to be a field day where everyone could just drink and make snacks, presentations, then go home. We integrated it with a workshop so that we impart farmers with knowledge that as well as the skills that will enable them to do much better and grow big in this agricultural industry.
Okay, as we move right along, as you can see, for the sake of our audience there at home, there are some tomatoes. we usually see tomatoes staked at this stage, by this stage, or trellis. What is the logic behind these tomatoes? I understand that this is what you were lecturing farmers on. This was what the field day was centered on. What is the logic behind having tomatoes that are not staked or on trellis?
Okay, these are tomatoes. We have got generally 3 kinds of tomatoes. We've got the determinate type, the indeterminate, as well as the semi-determinate. These fall in the category of determinate. These are the tomatoes which are sometimes called the bush type. They don't need trellising, and they have got several branches with which those are the fruit-bearing parts. So for this, in this particular case now, if we do trellising, it will be costly and it will be just unnecessary for us. So it is just a matter of being the bush type. They don't grow tall, and there's no any challenges of winds, which we usually, trellising is usually to support the plant, but it will be growing, so taking advantage of the vertical height. Okay. But in this case, there's no any need for the trellising because the crop is not even growing vertically, it's just being bushy.
Okay. Yeah. On this farm, I understand that this is an irrigated tomato. They don't rely on rain-fed agriculture. Which type of irrigation are they using? And is it possible for our local farmers to invest in that?
Okay, this is a drip irrigation system. Okay. One of the most, in fact, it's 96% effective. Okay. And by virtue of that, I mean, you know, we are talking, Afro-Stain usually talks about precision farming. Okay. And precision farming is a matter of making sure farming has been made more easier and simpler. So in such in this drip irrigation is a bit more effective in that it doesn't waste a lot of water. Okay. You find out that it irrigates the soil, but it's just closer to the roots. Okay, unlike,
where it is necessarily needed, exactly on point.
Yeah, not necessarily irrigating the soil so that
weeds grow
and so forth. So in this case, drip is being used, and it's much of the most effective. It doesn't waste a lot of time, it doesn't waste a lot of water, and a single person can actually control it, unlike the other systems like the overhead sprinklers or the flood irrigation that is used in other parts of the country like Chisumbanje and so forth. So the drip that we are using here is almost much more effective, especially for the startup farmers. It won't cost them a lot of cash, and whilst it is actually paying them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
now let us talk about this business, growing of tomatoes. Your field day was centered on tomatoes. This is what you were educating farmers on. To the youth out there, you are a youth yourself, freshly from an agricultural college. Let us talk about this as a business. To a youth out there, someone would have said, I've graduated from MSU or from Chibero or Gwebi, but I haven't found any employment. Aligning unemployment to tomato production to the youth in Zimbabwe, how is it as a business?
I think there is a misnomer, particularly within. There is a narrative which is actually wrong with the youth in Zimbabwe, particularly of our generation. You understand that there is opportunities that are enough for each and every youth in Zimbabwe. However, the way you your perception will either free you or imprison you. Yes. So if you look at tomatoes, per single plant you can have, in this case you can have 10 kgs, 7 to 10 kgs
of tomatoes.
And if it is a greenhouse tomato, you can even go up to 20 kgs or 24 kgs. Okay. However, the challenge for most youth is on the issue of finance. That one cannot do it against. But when you look at how best can we then raise finance as the youth in agribusiness, you understand the power lies in the unity, the power lies in our ability to cooperate and coordinate. So that when we are 10 or 20, if we do crowdfunding, each provide paying almost a little amount. For example, if I give an example of this phone that I'm holding, it's almost a phone for $350. Yes. But a person like me can come out saying, I don't have finance to start a business.
But you have a $350 phone.
So if you sell that phone, if you want to do it as solo, or else if you integrate with you or my other 10 other youths, we can raise even enough cash to start a horticultural business or erect a greenhouse for tomatoes.
Now let us talk about your contribution as Afro-Stain. As a country, we are talking about becoming an upper middle class economy by year 2030. You are a youth who had the initiative of starting a company, Afro-Stain Farm Tech. Yeah. How are you contributing to our vision as a country?
AfroStain, we are contributing particularly in the issue of effective land use. You understand that for each and every person to be said he is doing maximum productivity, you need to be getting the most out of every square inch of the land. So as AfroStain now, we are strengthening outreach for profitable venture in agribusiness. How are we doing it? We are doing our extension work to capacitate and empower other youth and the older generation, so that they actually know how best they can utilize the land. Not only that, we are also connecting them with the other potential investors as well as potential funders, so that each and every person can now understand how best how to unlock the genetics within yourself, so that at the end of the day we have something to smile on. So if you give me a little latitude, I will also explain much further, particularly on the issues to do with the youth, which is the most active generation of our population.
Please go ahead.
Right. So you understand that the youth in Zimbabwe, they are almost connected with the issues that are usually unnecessary, or they might be necessary in their own context. But I think it is much better for each and every one of us to be an activist of agribusiness,
yes,
or to be an activist of other than being called I'm a political activist and so forth. I'm not saying politics
is bad, but you're saying it's something that will contribute to our economy directly at the end of the day.
But to be an activist of agribusiness, agripreneurship and so forth, you inspire the next person, other than being an activist for some of the issues that are not much directly impacting us.
Thank you so much, Wencelas. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much.
There you heard it, viewers. I was with Wencelas Nyamfukuza. He was talking of becoming an agripreneur activist or an agribusiness activist. From me, your host, Wadzanai Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes, have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.